Today I'm going to talk about personal mythology and how I met my spirit guide in real life. It sounds really mystical, but it's actually pretty normal. I think a lot of people experience personal mythology, and if you're someone who experiences it, you will probably find this normal and natural. I went through a phase in my early 30s when I had really severe insomnia. It went on for weeks and weeks. The problem turned out to be a pretty easy fix. It was just my hormones. I just had to make some adjustments and then the insomnia cleared up. But during the time when I was trying to figure out the insomnia, I tried all kinds of things. One of the tools that I began using to help with my insomnia was a guided visualization that I would listen to at night when I got into bed. The guide in my headphones prompted me to relax and imagine a special place. So I let my imagination take over. And over the weeks of practicing this, my special place kind of emerged. And the special place that rose out of my imagination became more and more vivid and felt more real to me. And after several weeks, I didn't listen to the audio anymore from the guided meditation. I just had the details of this scenery established and I could just do it on my own. Now, this was not easy for me. It took a lot of practice and training because my mind tends to wander. It's difficult for me to intentionally meditate and stay with a meditation or specifically visualize something on purpose. I visualize and fantasize plenty all the time, but my mind's kind of wandering. It's hard to do it in a focused way, really specifically. I think that's pretty normal. It just takes practice. But I was showing up for this practice because it had a very clear purpose. I wanted to hack my insomnia. I also started to get some relaxation benefits from it, and I saw it as something that could really help me with my anxiety. I have suffered overwhelmingly with anxiety in my life. I don't have anxiety attacks. It's just kind of a low-grade, low-level anxiety that is operating in the background all of the time. It's so much better, especially in the last 3 years, because I've gotten really purposeful about not allowing myself to ruminate. My special place is a cave in a forest. Only my dog and I know how to get there. Once my dog and I are in the cave, it's a nurturing, relaxing, safe place to be. One of the main features in the cave is this huge tub that is carved out of orange alabaster. Now, orange alabaster is just a type of rock. Anyway, this bathtub is carved out of orange alabaster. And the incline of the back of the tub is just right that it fits my body, so I can lean back and completely relax. And as I practiced this visualization over and over again, I got really good at actually feeling what it feels like when you first get into warm water. You get this sort of tingling sensation down your spine when you step into a warm shower or when you get into a tub of warm water. And I got better and better at just eliciting that nervous system response within myself. And this is such a powerful tool that you can use. Anybody can do it. You're just learning to turn on that nervous system relaxation response at will. And that's really amazing. You can do it when you're in any stressful situation. I've used it many times when I'm in a dentist chair, maybe getting a root canal or getting a filling capped. I've been doing this for over 10 years. If you practice something like this consistently, the visualization will become more and more vivid and you'll just get better at turning on that nervous system response. It's a very powerful tool. If you practice it kind of inconsistently, the results might not be as good. So it's important to practice it every day, even if you're not feeling nervous or anxious. Just do it anyway. Run through the visualization just to practice and get better and better at turning on that relaxation response. At some point, maybe anywhere from 6 to 9 months in, a woman appeared in the cave. And she was just a wise, helpful, nurturing woman. There was a feeling that she accepted me unconditionally. She said all the right things. She just made me feel really safe and accepted. Occasionally, she would tell me things that I needed to hear, but most of the time, she just sat behind the back of the bathtub as I laid in it, and it was just the way that the bathtub was built. She could scoop her hands under my head and neck and hold my neck and massage my neck and just facilitate relaxation. And then a few years into practicing this visualization, this woman in the cave, just out of the blue, told me her name. And she told me that her name was Verushka. And I looked it up, and it turns out it means truth. There's also a masculine form of the name, Verush. It just simply means truth. And so I thought that was unusual. If you have a very imaginative mind, these kinds of things happen. You imagine things up that you didn't know were in there. It's kind of like when you dream at night. I had a dream a couple of nights ago, and I wish I could remember it better, but in the dream, it was just the way that the plot details unfolded was really brilliant. It was like, I'm not even that smart. I'm not that good of a writer, but I know that story of the dream and that plot and those details came from me, and it was really clever. I can't imagine in my waking life being that clever, and yet I was the author because I dreamed it, right? So that was how this was. It was just really surprising to me when she told me. A little over a year ago, I was going to a continuing education class for my massage therapy license. I walked into the classroom, and as I was pulling out a chair to sit at the table, I suddenly heard this voice in my head. And the voice said, "I am Verushka." And the voice seemed to come from outside of myself and from inside of myself at the same time. Just had this certain quality about it. I've experienced this before just a handful of times in my life where I heard something in my head that seemed to be coming from within myself, but also from without myself at the same time. I don't really know how to explain that. But it just had this kind of quality to it. But I realized when I heard that, "I am Verushka," I realized that it meant that I am Verushka, me. I knew that's what it meant when I heard it. It was just a profound, sudden knowing. And I was a little bit dumbfounded and taken aback because I was in this social situation where I was just arriving at a class and making introductions with people, but I was going through this weird experience inside my mind at the same time. And it was really strange, but at the same time, that realization was suddenly so obvious. Of course I'm Verushka. Who else would it be? I couldn't believe that I didn't realize it sooner. So over the last year, since last October, I've been meditating on that and trying to digest what that means. Really, that understanding has given me a new confidence. I created, using imagination, this character, Verushka, in order to evolve my own wisdom. I think I had to externalize and personify some aspects of myself to allow them to evolve. So now sometimes I say that in my mind, "I am Verushka." And it's kind of like a power phrase. It makes me feel centered. It gives me strength. Sometimes when I'm struggling or having really immature moments, that phrase just brings me back to the realization that I actually can become integrated. I can do this. I can figure this out. I can keep growing because somewhere inside of me, I am the wise version of myself. That's what I'm moving towards, and that is ultimately what I am. It's also been really useful when I'm working with my massage therapy clients. Sometimes I repeat this phrase in my head, and it just makes me feel centered and grounded, and like I can move from my heart and do my work from my heart. And it also reminds me that the work that I do is sacred. When I'm in the cave with Verushka and she is nurturing me and taking care of me, there is a real feeling that that is sacred. That's a sacred relationship. And that's what I can be for my clients. That's the purpose of that relationship, and that's what it should be. You know, I can be really immature and shitty sometimes and, have really fucked up tendencies and patterns, but at the same time, my work is also this arena where I get to help other people. I get to be the one that's centered and the one who facilitates wellness in other people. Just last week, I had another really surprising realization. There's another layer to this mythology. From the years of about age 15 to 21, there was an image that I drew over and over again. I drew it obsessively. There was no practical reason to draw this image over and over again so many times. I just did. I was captivated by it. It appears to be a woman who's also somehow a leaf. She's a leaf woman. She also seems to be pregnant. And there's also the full moon, which I think, has a lot of symbolism for fertility. To me, it never symbolized biological fertility, but more like creative potential, like being pregnant with creative potential, or just potential inside that wants to grow and wants to emerge. And sometimes that's how I feel in myself, like I'm just a nebulous mass of creative energy that's wanting to express. And part of growing up for me is exploring different ways to express that and ways to channel it and focus it. And I've been delighted and fascinated to see what comes out. And a lot of what comes out has this surprising quality, very much like this personal mythology. Many times when I've written songs, I write the song, it just comes out of me. It's not super intentional. It just is the song that is ready to be written. And I hear myself singing the song and I think, what the heck does that mean? And sometimes it takes a while, maybe years of just being with the song to figure out what it ever meant in the first place. When I originally write the song, it's a message that I'm trying to send to myself, and it can take years until I start to understand it. It's very fascinating. Anyway, I used to draw this image over and over again. And then when I was age 21, I actually got it tattooed onto my back. And the funny thing is, I never drew it again after that, and I never really thought about it. I can't see it. It's behind me. I forget that I have a tattoo all the time. It's like totally faded at this point because I'm almost 43 years old. So I got this over 20 years ago. I never had it retouched. So after I had the thing tattooed on my back, I never drew it again. I didn't think about the image. It just like evaporated, went away. Last week I was using, 2 mirrors to fix the back of my hair, and I saw the tattoo, which I'd kind of forgotten about. And I suddenly have this thought, that's the wise woman. That's the same. That's Verushka. So maybe when I was 15 years old, this personal mythology was being born, and it just grew and repeated itself in my imagination and came back to me again and again over the years to teach me things and to help me and to guide me. So that's my spirit guide, right? I don't know, is there a definition of spirit guide? It sounds like so hocus pocus. My spirit guide. So that's what I mean when I say I've met my spirit guide. I don't even really think it's that unusual. A lot of people have imaginations that they use. They imagine things that they didn't really intend to imagine. They just sort of bloom out of the mind. You don't control your thoughts. They just sort of bloom out of some nebulous potential in your mind. Your subconscious or the collective unconscious or something, they just emerge and they have meanings and messages. So it sounds kind of hocus pocus, hippy dippy, but I think many people who are imaginative have probably experienced similar things.